local election headquarters. 18 News presents Debate 2019. Here is your moderator, Zach Wheeler.
Good evening and welcome live from Mandeville Hall inside the Clemens Center in downtown Elmira. From your local election headquarters, I'm Zach Wheeler, and I'm joined tonight by Georgia Verdier, president of the Elmira Courting branch of the NAACP. Tonight we will moderate two debates. The first, the Chemung County Sheriff's race between Art Laurie and Bill Schramm. The second, the Elmira Mayoral race. However, Democrat candidate Alex Sweet has dropped out of the race, but we will still give Mayor Mandel the floor as we discuss important issues facing this great city. Before we begin, let us stand together and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A reminder to you at home that we are streaming this debate live on mytwintiers.com, and we will post the entire debate to our website after this broadcast. You'll also find profiles of each of our candidates appearing in tonight's debate. During the debate, I ask the audience here at Mandeville Hall to remain respectful and quiet. Please, no applause, except for right now as we welcome our candidates for Chemung County Sheriff, Art Laurie and Bill Schramm. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to give an opening statement. The order has been determined by a flip of a coin, with Bill Schramm going first. Bill.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank WETM for hosting this debate tonight, and particularly Zach Wheeler and Ms. Verdier for agreeing to moderate same. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bill Schramm. I was born and raised in Elmira, New York. I began my law enforcement career in 1989 after graduating from the Southern Tier Law Enforcement Academy. In March of 1990, I was hired by the Chemung County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff. I served on the road patrol for a period of 4 years. 2 out of those 4 years, I served on our agency's Special Services Unit. In March of 1994, I was transferred from the road patrol into our Criminal Investigation Division, which is our detective bureau. We're responsible for handling any felony level cases or any type of death investigations. While in that division, I received extensive training in a variety of disciplines. I also reached the rank of sergeant and remained in that division as a supervisor. I'm a past president of our union, and in January of 2006, I was appointed as undersheriff, which placed me second in charge of the entire agency. I did that for a period of 13 years under the direction of Chris Moss, who was our sheriff. And January 1st of this year, I was appointed in the position of acting sheriff, which is the current position that I hold. And my responsibilities involve overseeing the 4 agency divisions, to include our correction facility, which houses 264 inmates. Thank you.
My name is Art Laurie, and I'm running for Chemung County Sheriff. And it's a privilege and an honor to be here with you folks tonight. And first and foremost, I'd like to say that I'd like to give honor to the Lord for having this privilege to address the community. And having said that, there's a lot of issues that we would like to discuss tonight that's going to be not considered very pleasant, but I think it's necessary to address. But I'm a veteran in the United States Marine Corps. I've worked for the Sheriff's Department for 27 years. I've been married to my wife of 30 plus years. We've raised 5 children in this community. My oldest child graduated from the University of Buffalo, now works as an IT person. My second oldest daughter, Christy, works for the state police. Then I have a son that's currently working overseas as a teacher in Japan. I currently have a daughter also that's at the University of Buffalo working on her master's program. She's going to be graduating this year. My youngest daughter followed in my footsteps, went into the military, and currently serving in Colorado.
Thank you. Thank you both. Each question we ask will be directed to both candidates. The candidates will rotate, being the first to answer, with Bill going first, as decided in tonight's coin toss before this broadcast. Each candidate will also have 90 seconds to answer. Then, the candidate who answered first will get a 30-second rebuttal opportunity. Again, I ask that the audience refrain from any applause. Please turn off all cell phones, and I'll turn over the mic to my colleague, Georgia Verdier.
Thank you, Zach, and good evening, candidates. I'm going to be posing the questions for you, and the first question is for you, Bill. In the last several years, there has been a dramatic increase in the number of gun-related activities in our community, especially in the city of Elmira. How can local enforcement agencies work together to help deal with this gun violence in our community?
Well, thank you for the question. I think first and foremost is to continue to work collaboratively with our law enforcement partners. We have a great partnership with all 6 entities that work within Chemung County. That's the village, city police departments, as well as the New York State Police. We work collaboratively on any major cases and crimes that occur within our county, and try to collaborate the best way possible to bring resolution to these types of things. The gun violence is an epidemic issue throughout the country. I think the knee-jerk reaction to a lot of these types of cases is, we have to restrict the laws much more beyond what they already are. And I don't know that that's necessarily the answer, because I think the restrictive laws that are put into place under that pretext really affects the law-abiding citizens, and it's targeting the wrong individuals. I think, if we get an opportunity later on to talk about bail reform, we're going to see some of the policies that have been changed at a state level that I think are going to really impact some of these cases that we're dealing with and the crimes that we have, and making it much more difficult for law enforcement to effectively do their job. So I think the key is identifying the problem sources, working collaboratively with our law enforcement partners, and addressing issues as they arise.
Thank you. Art, your response, and would you like for me to repeat the question?
No, I heard the question. Thank you. Well, one of the biggest things that I like to see in our community, ladies and gentlemen, is transparency. The lack of transparency is key to changing the road that we've gone down in this county. Out of 14 counties in the southern tier, Chemung County is ranked number 2 for murders. We've had over 43 murders in our county, second only to Binghamton, which is over 187,000 people. Now, in order to reverse that trend, we have to go in a different direction. Number one, we do have to collaborate with the rest of law enforcement. We have to come together as a community. But it's just not law enforcement. We need to come together with the citizens getting involved and helping along the way, because without the citizens' help, we cannot get the job done. So I see that that's going to be a huge issue in order to get us off the map. As far as looking at Elmira and our county as a whole, we are 97% on the map nationally as being one of the worst communities to live in America, as far as cities of all sizes. In order to reverse that trend, we need to go in a different direction. And it's been since 1954, 53, since we've actually haven't had a change. We're long overdue for a change. If we elect the same old business that we've been doing, it'll be about 70 years. We need to go in a different direction.
Thank you. 30-second rebuttal.
Sure, thank you. First of all, there's only 8 counties in the southern tier, not whatever number he had.
I can name them off to you.
And there's been 13 homicides in the past 5 years in Chemung County, not 42. And I would point out that only 2 of those homicides were investigated by the sheriff's office. So the information just does not seem to be very accurate.
Okay. Next question.
The next question is for you, Art, and the question was submitted by a viewer. What is the biggest need of the sheriff department now, and what would you do to fill that need?
Unifying the officers is paramount. It's very essential to bring the officers, to let them know that they have support. And not alongside that, we need to have support not just from within our own agency. We need to have the support from all law enforcement coming together and working together.
Same question.
Okay. So, if you don't mind repeating that for me, so I don't miss.
The question is, what is the biggest need of the sheriff department now, and what would you do to fill that need?
Okay. So, great question. I think the most needed thing is continued experience. This isn't a job that you walk into and learn it as you go. I think with my 30 years experience within this agency, working in a variety of divisions and a lot of different capacities, that's what we need to keep in office, to continue the sheriff's office moving in the right direction. You bring inexperience and lack of training and background in this profession. I don't see where that's going to benefit the agency or the community.
Did you have a 30-second rebuttal?
I think right now we're hearing much of the same, ladies and gentlemen, that we've had for many, many years. In order to reverse this direction that we've been going in, we need new, fresh ideas. Fresh ideas such as safety for our community. Now, when it talks about safety, ladies and gentlemen, we've been issuing permits to citizens of our county. Under my administration as your sheriff, ladies and gentlemen, I would make sure that every citizen, along with getting that permit, have time on the range so they can learn how to handle those firearms that they've been issued.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll start with Bill.
Okay, Bill, the next question is for you to respond first. There have been 4 inmate suicides in the Chemung County Jail in the past 18 months. Is this a higher than average suicide rate in Chemung County correctional facilities? Is there anything a sheriff can do about this?
Okay, so I would respectfully correct you on a few things. There's been 4 inmate deaths in 23 months. 3 of those were via suicide. 1 was via accidental overdose. It is an unfortunate byproduct of corrections in our country. It is not an issue specific to the Chemung County Jail or any specific facility anywhere. It's just an unfortunate byproduct of people being incarcerated. What I would like to say in all 4 instances, they were investigated independently by the New York State Commissions of Corrections, which is an independent governing body of all correctional facilities in New York State, to include the New York State Corrections, County Corrections, and City Lockups. So they oversee all 3 of those. They have to come in and conduct an independent investigation on top of anything that the agency does internally. So in each one of those cases, excluding the most recent one, which has not yet been completed, all of our personnel, all of our correction officer staff was exonerated in the manner in which they performed their job, in the manner in which they responded to these terrible tragedies. They did an exemplary job in how they handled these, and I'm very proud of each and every one of the officers within the agency.
Thank you. Art, same question.
Well, I differ with what Bill just said. Within the 18-month period, we have 4 suicides. Now, in order to get an understanding of this, ladies and gentlemen, he's pivoted from the issue here of saying that. Now, what's happened is that we've had these 4 suicides. They could have been prevented had we put these people on constant watch. Now, in order to understand this, you have to go back to the CGR report, which they said that they wanted to save money. The county engaged in hiring this particular organization to come in here and research on ways to save money. One of the biggest issues that they went to is to say that we want to cut the constant watch supervision of these prisoners. Now, it's not the officer's fault that this has happened. It's just a failed policy, because it was very clear. If you go and research that yourself, I'll have it on my website. It's probably already posted, I believe. But anyways, in order to understand the gravity of this, I received a phone call from the young lady that took her life father. And he explained to me he called not one time, but twice, and said that his daughter was going to commit suicide. And then the sheriff's department did not act on it. So he had 2 opportunities to respond to this, and he failed to do it. And there was 4 suicides within that 18-month period.
Bill, 30-second rebuttal.
Well, again, perhaps Mr. Lowry has more direct knowledge on the runnings of the sheriff's office that I directly oversee. I can assure you it was 3 suicides and 1 accidental overdose. Those findings are published by the Commissioner of Corrections online, so anybody can access them to get the accurate information. With regard to any overseeing of any of these cases, these investigations have been conducted. Our people have been exonerated. So any information aside from that is just hearsay and misrepresentation.
All right, we'll direct the next question to Art.
Art, the following question is for you. If a person has been arrested for committing a nonviolent crime but has not been convicted, starting in January of next year, the odds of their spending any time in jail will go down significantly. In this sweeping change to New York's legal system, cash bail is almost also set to end for most misdemeanors. Do you believe this change in the law will have an effect, and what would that be?
It's going to have a huge effect because it's all about accountability. But however, I think that we need to look at alternative for incarceration. We need to give people a second opportunity to give a chance, especially young people. Diversion programs, I think, is a very good idea for young people especially, but if we have repeat offenders, they need to spend some time, I think, in the county jail so they can get the help, whatever that problem might be, so they can rethink their behavior. So I think that's going to have a tremendous effect, especially on what we've been facing right here as far as drugs in our community.
Bill.
Same question. Would you like for me to repeat the question?
Nope, I got you. Thank you. So yes, it definitely will have a significant impact on law enforcement, specifically as it relates to the county jail. So essentially what they're predicting with bail reform is once that goes into effect, what they are predicting is a 40% drop in county population, county jail population. That's a significant amount. Unfortunately, with that drop in jail population, what they are suggesting with the new discovery laws is shifting the money from corrections and transferring it over to our district attorney's offices, who are going to be actually burdensome with the discovery mandates of turning over information in a timely manner. So if they shift those funds from corrections over to the DA's office, who clearly are going to need the additional staffing to deal with the discovery laws, what I'm concerned about, and what the other sheriffs in the state are concerned about, is you are unquestionably going to see this lull. They're going to see this drop in population. It's going to probably sustain for a period of time. What they don't predict is the end mark, and that is basically what are they going to do when the people that get out on the cash bail don't come back into court. They're going to be issuing warrants. So initially, it's going to look like a drop, but eventually I think that pendulum is going to swing back up, and you're going to see the population in the jails rise again. So I think we have to be very concerned and careful about that, not to mention the types of people that are getting let out that shouldn't be. Robbery seconds, burglary seconds, that's a concerning issue.
Art, 30-second rebuttal.
Issues is the county has been facing a huge issue as far as making money off the county jail. So that's going to be a big shift. They've made $672,000 by boarding people in. So it's going to take away this revenue that they've been using for other things. Now, as far as people being released, we've released people out on these programs on felonies that through the making money here through the county corrections facility, and these people have gone out and murdered people. So that's going to be a huge effect.
The next question is for you, Bill, and it was submitted by a viewer. What is your position on the New York SAFE Act?
So certainly I'm opposed to a lot of aspects of the SAFE Act. I think some of their policies are well-intended, but I think ultimately what is happening is our law-abiding gun rights, gun owners are being penalized a little bit at a time. You know, they have the new red flag law. They have other laws and legislation that they've passed through the SAFE Act. And really, there's no design within the SAFE Act to effectively address the criminals who are coming in possession of these weapons. Who it's ultimately affecting are the law-abiding citizens who have gone through a process to earn the right to carry a firearm, whether it's a handgun or a long gun. And little by little, they seem to be chipping away at these rights. And these folks are being penalized where the real shift and focus should be on the criminals.
Same question.
Well, as far as the SAFE Act, I think it's overreaching. I think if you look at our Constitution, it's very clear that every citizen has the right to bear arms. And I think that if you look at the SAFE Act, it's intended, like Bill had said, well-intended, but even sometimes the most well-intended intentions often fall on, go the other way. So I think that we need to focus on making sure people have their right to exercise their Second Amendment rights. And that's why I had said that I think every citizen need to be able to have that right to go to the range, and so all citizens in our county are made safe, even the law-abiding citizens. So be given that right to learn how to handle these firearms properly and just not be issued them.
30-second rebuttal. You're good? Okay.
Okay, the next question I think goes to Art. Okay, Art. If elected sheriff, what changes, if any, would you make to the operation of the Sheriff's Road Patrol or to the operation of the Chemung County Jail?
Well, one of the things I would do with the road patrol, I would make sure that the officers feel like they have some leadership that will support them. Because I think in order for you to move forward with any group of young men and women, they need to feel supported. So I would like them to know that we're going to be there to support them, surround them, give them the necessary tools to do their job. And when it comes down to the correction division, these people need to feel like that, because it's burdensome if a person is put in a position where they know a person may need to be put on constant supervision and haven't been able to give that opportunity to be put on constant supervision and then have to find this person dead. So I think that they need to understand that we will do everything that we can do to keep every citizen safe, no matter what crime that they've committed, to be institutionalized.
Bill, same question.
So a couple things. First of all, when I took over the role as acting sheriff, I had a decision to make. Do I wait until I decide, or I find out whether or not I'm going to be actually elected into the position to make changes, or do I do it right away? So I opted that it didn't make any sense to wait, so I implemented some changes. Some of the things that we did right off the bat is we reassigned an investigator to the Drug Enforcement Unit to work in collaboration with the Elmira Police Department and the New York State Police to combat the ongoing drug violence that we're having, or drug issues that we're having in our community. The other thing that I'm extremely proud of is that we've expanded in collaboration with the Elmira City School District, BOCES, as well as Finn Academy, the School Resource Officer Program. Initially, we had 4 school resource officers. Now we're up to 13. So every school in the Elmira City School District has school resource officers in their schools. I think that's a very important thing in this day and age. We are continuing to move forward with our accreditation process, which we were able to accomplish under Sheriff Moss with regard to all 3 of our divisions that are eligible for that, which is the Road Patrol, the Corrections Division, and our Civil Community Services Division. This is a standard that is above and beyond what is required for any law enforcement agency to obtain and have, and we've met that and been reaccredited several times. And the only other thing I would say in closing is that with regard to the support of the agency, I have the endorsement of both the road and jail unions.
30 seconds.
One of the biggest things that I would like to do is I would like to create a task force specifically designed to go after the shootings that we have in our county, because it's out of control. And one of the other things that I would like to do is make sure that we combat bullying within the school system and have that same task force go within the schools and deal with the cyberbullying along with bullying physically within our school system. Because young people need to feel safe when they're going into their schools, to feel like they have a safe learning environment. So that's one of the biggest things that I would change.
Follow up on the drug issue. A quick question. This goes to Art, and then, of course, Bill, you'll have a chance. The opioid crisis is rampant here in our community. You hear constantly over the scanner the amount of overdoses that happen per night. What are some things, if you were elected sheriff, you would do to help combat and help fight the opioid crisis and fentanyl?
One of the biggest things that I would do, I would make sure that they have the necessary tools to protect themselves out there from this fentanyl and things like that, and make sure they have enough education to know what they're dealing with when they go into these environments. And what's paramount is making sure that we flood the areas with the necessary officers to be able to do the job. Because one of the biggest things that I would do is I would make sure that we take back the city lockup prisoners from being over there, being held in city lockup, so that we can take those officers and use them on the road patrol to make sure the city has the necessary, the jail, so they can have that space.
Bill.
So with regard to the heroin and opioid, I'm very proud to be part of an agency that spearheaded Operation Hope, which is heroin opioid prevention education. This is something that our staff provides education to the public on a variety of different levels, whether it's health organizations, faith-based organizations, businesses, a variety of different levels that we address this topic on. We also implemented Operation Hope in the Chemung County Jail, which essentially means that every inmate that comes into our facility is screened during the booking process. Part of that screening entails them being questioned specifically about any drugs, issues, or addictions that they may have. If it's identified in that setting, they are set up immediately with our medical staff, who does a phenomenal job, and we also plug them into services once they are released from the jail. What's important to remember, we can only plug them into those services. What an individual decides to do once they leave from the jail is on them. So we give them those resources and those opportunities. We equip every one of our road patrol deputies with Narcan and protective gear should they encounter somebody that's suspected of being involved in an overdose, so that they can be well protected and prepared to help them. And finally, a new created is an Operation Court, which is just recently up and running, which is an opportunity to set people into an area where they can be referred to other resources.
All right, 30-second rebuttal.
I'm going to think about this for a minute. If things were working out fine, we would not be in the position that we're in right now. Our streets are totally unsafe. Drugs are rampant. It'll be a 70-year run if we stay on this same track. We need the community to get involved with making Chemung County safe again, and we need your help. It's just not just the law enforcement by itself. We need the citizen support, and we need you to rally. It's not just faith-based organizations. It's a community.
Thank you. Continuing on the drug scene, this is a kind of lengthy question. Recently, this is for you, Bill, recently the New York State Legislature failed in its attempt to legalize the recreational use of marijuana. The governor, however, did sign into law legislation that will further reduce cannabis possession penalties and expunge many misdemeanor convictions. There is still an effort to legalize the recreational use of marijuana in the state's next legislative session. Do you think this is a good idea? If not, what are your concerns?
Absolutely not. I think it's a horrible message to send. For years and years, it's been preached on how bad any drug is to anybody, and now that we can make money off it, that seems to make it okay. The New York State Sheriff's Association, the New York State District Attorneys Association, the New York State Teachers Association also all came out jointly together on a front to show our resistance to this legislation. Truly, it's as simple as looking at Colorado, one of the first states to legalize marijuana. If you look at the statistics associated with Colorado, you see a 151% increase of fatality-related accidents that are directly linked to marijuana use. Their unemployment is down, and they are dealing with a host of medical and health issues directly related to the legalization of marijuana. I see no good out of it other than making a quick buck. I don't think that's the right direction that we should be going in, and I am adamantly opposed to it, and I've already come out publicly regarding that.
Okay, thank you. Art, same question.
Well, I recently had an experience because I went out to Colorado, and I had firsthand knowledge of seeing what was going on, and it's terrible. So to bring that to New York State, I think it's to be a bigger travesty. So I oppose marijuana, but it's about rule of law. If it's legal in this state, we have to support the law. Even though personally I may not agree with it, but we've taken an oath to support the law of the state of New York. So, you know, regardless of how I may feel about it, we have to make sure that we follow the law.
30-second rebuttal.
Well, just quickly, I don't think this is a question of whether or not, you know, we would be required to follow the law. Certainly that goes without saying. I think the question was more directed at why we would oppose it, and I think the negatives associated with the legalization of marijuana speak for themselves.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is for you, Art. There are currently 5 local law enforcement agencies in Chemung County. In the last couple of years, because of financial concerns, there have been talks about the possibility of consolidation of these agencies, especially between the Sheriff Department and the Elmira Police Department. What are your thoughts concerning any type of consolidation of these departments?
I think consolidation on paper sounds good. However, I think it's a bad idea because this is my reason for it. When you have one particular entity controlling the entire county, absolute power corrupts. So each individual community having their separate law enforcement, it becomes more personalized when you have agencies to familiarize themselves with the locals, build relationships, and it's more hometown friendly. So when you have one agency and you give one person that position to have the oversight, it breeds corruption. And so I would oppose that.
Bill, same question.
So consolidation conceptually is definitely a good idea conceptually. But when you put it to paper and try to organize that, what you have to realize is that you're dealing with a variety of different unions. You're dealing with different pay scales, different rank structures in some cases, different style of policing. And I think trying to gel all that together, unless there is no other choice, unless a municipality becomes so fiscally strained that they have no other choice, I would recommend that things stay as they are and give them, you know, the law enforcement agencies that they have within their own communities.
Quick rebuttal.
Well, when you look at how Horse says they really expressed what their concerns was when we were trying to have this kind of forced on us, having a member of the Sheriff's Department take over their chief position. They declined it. They sent a message saying that they did not want that. And I think that was a wise choice because if you look at things right now the way they are, people are trying to do pension building. So, you know, when you see various people up on the pulpit and you think about what they're trying to do and moonlighting, serving as a instructor at Corning Community College, that's what they're trying to do.
We're just about at the end here. Okay. The question was submitted by a viewer. What are your hopes for your political future?
What are my hopes for my political future? Listen, my heart and soul is with the Sheriff's Office. I've been with this agency my entire career. I've come up through the ranks with a variety of experience and background. I don't feel that I am ready to retire, and I feel I have a lot more to give back to the community. It will be nice to be in a position to put your own touch on an agency. You know, I've worked under a couple different sheriffs, and everybody has their own different style. So really, my political aspirations are none other than to continue doing what I'm doing. I would never consider myself a politician, but an elected official. which simply means that I'm answerable to the people. If they felt I wasn't doing a good job, if a job wasn't being done well prior to my coming into this role, then they would be the ones that would decide that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with a polished politician here, a career politicians. They only have one thing in mind, is that you want to continue the same reckless behavior, putting themselves before the citizens of Chemung County welfare. If that was not true, we would not be in the condition that we're in right now. Our community is a wreck. And I'm standing here right now just as a common person, not polished, rough around the edges, but I want to do right by the citizens of Chemung County. And I would like for you to give me that opportunity, and I will do my best to serve your community, and I will put you first, just like I've raised my family to be productive citizens. I would do everything I can do to make sure every citizen is afforded the opportunity at the end of the day to go home safe and without this. And sure, I would bring the community together, and their involvement is paramount to changes around here. And that's where I'm at with this.
Sure. So aside from the innuendos and the cheap shots, I would simply say this. Every agency in this county has endorsed me, and I'm very proud of that. They don't endorse somebody if they don't feel that they're competent and capable of doing a job. There's been a reference to 70 years of the same thing. I'm not sure what that means, but I would say this. Chris Moss ran the sheriff's office for many years. Obviously, people thought he did a very well job because he was elected each time and elected overwhelmingly. My goal and hopes is to continue moving the sheriff's office in a good direction.
All right. Thank you both for answering these questions. We're wrapping up now, so each of you will have 90 seconds to give a closing statement. And again, that order has been determined by a flip of the coin before this broadcast. And Bill, you go first.
Again, I'd like to thank WETM for hosting this debate, for both of you for moderating it as well. The message I would like to get out to every person who is watching this or seated in this room that doesn't know anything about Bill Schramm is that I started my career with the Sheriff's Office in March of 1990. I have come up through the ranks within the Sheriff's Office, both on the Road Patrol, the Criminal Investigations Division, the Undersheriff, and currently as your acting sheriff. I have extensive training and background. I possess an associate's degree in science, a bachelor's degree in science, and a master's degree in criminal justice administration. I am very proud to say that I also teach as an adjunct professor 2 nights a week in the criminal justice program at Corning Community College, which I've done since 2012. I teach both police operations and ethical dilemmas in criminal justice. I'm a proud graduate of the FBI National Academy. I feel that based on my tenure with the Sheriff's Office, my training, my background, and experience, that I am the best qualified for this position, and I would greatly appreciate everybody's support on November 5th, or if you vote earlier.
If given the opportunity to be sheriff, ladies and gentlemen, I would make sure that you, as a citizen of Chemung County, would come first. Now, we've heard much of the same old thing, that things are going to be a certain way, and we have not had any change. If given the opportunity, Chemung County will be a much safer organization. When I said 70 years, I said if we continue down the same road, it'll be 70 years since we've had any type of change. We've had this leadership, the same thing, the same promise, the same polished politicians giving us the same lines year after year when they have the opportunity to run. So if you want to have your community much safer, I'm asking you to vote for me November 5th so we can stand together and send a message to these polished politicians. Thank you.
All right, we thank you both for this. That will conclude our debate, and as we give a round of applause to both of our candidates, I do want to thank you both. A reminder, we are streaming this debate live on mytwintiers.com, and we will post the entire debate to our website after this broadcast, and you'll also find profiles again of each of the candidates appearing in tonight's debate. Also a reminder, 18 News is your local election headquarters for you at home. Join us for live team coverage this upcoming election Tuesday, November 5th, online and on air for your election coverage. Turn 18 News. Of course, we'll be right back with the Mayoral Town Hall here live from Elmira's Medeville Hall at the Clemens Center. Everyone, and welcome back. We are so glad you're joining us this Tuesday evening as we begin part two, the Elmira Town Hall with our Mayor, Dan Mandel. As we reported to you just yesterday on 18 News, the Democratic candidate has decided to drop out of the race, so we will be asking important questions to our mayor as he runs for a second term. Just a reminder for you viewers at home that we will be streaming this. We are streaming this on mytwintiers.com, and we'll also have the full debate and this portion of the town hall live on our website after this broadcast. For those that are in the house, we ask you again to please be respectful of the mayor as we ask these important questions that our city is facing. I'm joined tonight by the amazing and talented Georgia Verdier, a good colleague who is the president of the NAACP, and she will be asking some of the questions to Mayor Mandel. But we welcome Mayor Mandel to the podium. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Thank you to WETM for hosting this now town hall, and thank you to Zach and Georgia for moderating this town hall. Before I took office in 2015, the city of Elmira was in a downward spiral. Very little development was occurring. Neighborhoods were deteriorating. The infrastructure needed to be improved, such as bridges and streets. Poverty was not being addressed. There was a high rate of crime, and the city was on the verge of bankruptcy. Since I took office in 2016, my administration has produced over $100 million of development throughout the city of Elmira. Thanks to our team and our hard work, we have secured grants to begin revitalizing our downtown and our neighborhoods, as well as our downtown. We've also secured grants to repair and rehabilitate our bridges and repair our main thoroughfares. We are awarded a $1 million Empire Poverty Reduction Initiative, which I was very, very proud to receive. We were the first city to develop and submit our plan. We were also the first city to have our plan approved by the governor in the Department of State. As of today, we have reached out to over 650 individuals to help steer them in the right direction to help get them out of poverty. Our police department has partnered with the Chemung County Sheriff's Office and the state police to address crime. Recently, under the leadership of Acting Sheriff Bill Schramm, we added a deputy sheriff to our drug enforcement unit, and we just completed a joint basic training with the Sheriff's Office, Elmira PD, and some other agencies in the community. With these strong relationships with the other law enforcement agencies, last year, New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services showed a significant drop in Elmira's crime level. It actually dropped 27% in 2018. Our financial picture is much brighter. We were able to reduce a $3 million deficit that we had inherited down to just over $900,000 where it stands today. We are confident we will continue this trend and to build a budget surplus. Our relationship with county government has never been stronger. We recently completed a city-county committee which came up with several recommendations which are currently being discussed with city and county officials. These recommendations were developed to assist our entire community of the city of Elmira and the county of Chemung to include all the other municipalities in Chemung County. Under my administration and my leadership, Elmira is clearly headed in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, many of these questions I have for you tonight, you have touched base with them in your opening remarks, so you might want to just speak a little bit more to them. The first one is a little different, and it was submitted by a viewer. Would you be for or against a split of New York State, and why?
That's a difficult question because as much as New York City controls a lot of our government, they've also provided a lot of funding up this way to upstate New York. I don't know how successful we'd be if we were to split. I would continue remaining one state for now, so I don't necessarily agree with that. I know a lot of people have feelings about New York City, but they have to understand Wall Street brings in a lot of money to the state. So.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The vast majority of Elmira's streets are in substandard condition and are in need of either resurfacing or major reconstruction. Knowing that road construction is extremely expensive and the city has very limited funds for that purpose, Do you have any long-term solutions to address this problem?
We do, and thank you for that question. First of all, we have received many grants through the federal and state government to work on some of these roads. Our local roads, unfortunately, falls on the burden of the taxpayer and the city itself. And just past 4 years since I've been elected, we have done 34 roads as far as total rehabilitation, what they call mill and fill projects. Roads that need tending to before we can get to the mill and fill, we've been doing what we call layover projects to make them drivable. We're going to continue with our plan to do 10, 12, 15 roads a year, whatever we can afford to get our streets back in a lot better shape than they are now. I must say, too, that this climate is not conducive for good roads. With the freezing and thawing of the pavement and the heaving of the pavement, they go through a lot of wear and tear during the winter, and of course the salt also plays a part in that.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Over the last several years, gun violence in the city of Elmira has increased, especially with drug-related activities. What will you do to support local law enforcement in this battle and help relieve the concerns of the residents of the city?
Well, it falls a lot on law enforcement, but it also falls a lot on the community. We have partnered with the state police and the sheriff's office to help address the problems with violence. But what we're finding is a lot of people are not speaking up and letting us know who's perpetrating this violence, either for being afraid of retribution or for the fear of being called a snitch. So they don't necessarily want to come forth, or they want to do what they call self-justice and take care of the problem themselves. What I've been doing is reaching out to different community groups, talking with them frequently, and get everybody together to let us know what's going on in the city, who's the bad actors, so that we can identify them. So with a total community effort, I think we can make a lot of gains in this. And as I said earlier, our crime has decreased. Those are statistics from the Department of Criminal Justice Services. So I think we're headed in the right direction, but there's a lot of work to do.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Over the last several years, the city of Elmira and Chemung County have worked together on a number of shared services initiatives. For example, the county took over the full operations and costs of the city highway department and Department of Public Works. Do you feel that there are other opportunities that the county and city could establish that would help the city with its current financial problem?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, and they kind of touched on the sheriff's debate. First of all is maybe a countywide law enforcement agency, but that's going to take a lot of work. But in the meantime, we've already been in talks with the county to share our Chamberlain's office, so we can merge the Chamberlain's office in with their treasurer's office. We have already got shared services agreements with other municipalities too, such as our animal control, and we've shared some services with assessors. So we continue to explore those, and they are cost savings, but the biggest one would be the law enforcement, and that's something that's going to take a while to tackle.
Okay, next question. The city of Elmira, despite some of its recent economic success in the downtown area, still experiencing severe physical distress, including a below-average bond rating and a significant structural deficit in the city's annual budget. As mayor, what ideas will you put forth to help improve the city's serious financial conditions?
We've already started, actually, basically cutting some of our costs, increasing our revenues without raising sales tax or property tax. We've been lucky to see all the development, which has actually generated revenue with our building permits. We've also are looking forward to sales tax increase, working with the county, and initiatives like that. It's tough being a city because a lot of the burden falls on us. We don't have a lot of revenue resources, but we have been working diligently to do that, and we're trying to eliminate that deficit with some of these initiatives.
Okay, next question. The city of Elmira has experienced some good economic news with the construction of the new Lecom Medical School and the Water Street Building Development Project. There also appears to be a potential opportunity in the former Star Gazette building and the former Izzard building. With the monies received by city through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI, what leadership will you show to keep this momentum going?
Well, we're always constantly reaching out to developers. You've mentioned the Izzards building and now possibly the Star Gazette. We just had a developer reach out to us regarding the property over by the old Dandy Mini Mart. So we keep reaching out to different individuals. Actually, with all the development we're having, we've been blessed for them to reach out to us. We want to keep the momentum going. We constantly research and look for those developers, and we will continue that surge here in the city of Elmira. Our days are much brighter ahead for the city right now.
Okay. the last question on here for you, and hopefully you read a bit about it. It's about Elmira being the worst city for Black Americans, number 6 on the list. Recently came out in the news. And Elmira income for Black people is only 42.6% of income for white people. In other words, Black people in Elmira make less than half of what white people in Elmira make. This gap is far greater in Elmira than in nearly any other city in the United States. Is there anything a mayor can do to address this?
Well, first of all, we have been addressing the issue with jobs and bringing better paying jobs into the city. Our manufacturing base right now is hiring, many are still hiring right now. Our unemployment rate's down to 3.7%. But getting back to those numbers, just to let you know, some of those numbers did come from Elmira Prison because they're part of our citizens. And I was informed of that. And that report was actually an old report. I meet with many groups, African Americans, all walks of life. And we're continuing to work on making sure that all Elmirans have a great quality of life here in the city of Elmira.
That was good. We get this question about a lot. Why do I have to use clear trash bags for my trash?
Sometimes I ask myself that same thing. Basically what it is we get charged a tipping fee, and the tipping fees reflect in our budget. So with the clear bags, what it was meant to do basically is to make sure people are throwing out waste that can't be recycled. That's why we use them. We've talked about and debated about going back to the non-clear plastic bags, the dark bags, if you will, but it just doesn't make financial sense at this time. It seems to be working, so it's something that we'll probably continue to do right now with the clear trash bags.
What are some of the bipartisan efforts that you were working with at City Council? Are they easy to work with both sides of the aisle when it comes to City Council?
Absolutely. This relationship with the City Council has been nothing but fantastic. When we first came on, we had 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat. The 1 Democrat council member, Brent Sturmer, I brought him in my office and I said, Brent, this is a nonpartisan group. We're all Elmirans. We're going to work together. It's been a great working relationship. I'm looking forward to continue that relationship regardless of party. Party politics should not play a part, especially in local government. We all need to come together for the same goal. He respects our ideas, I respect his ideas, so it's a great working relationship.
I want to give you a few seconds to take a drink of water because you've been talking nonstop. I'm pretty amazed at we're just banging these questions out for you. So, George, do you have something?
I have a question.
Okay, good.
Mayor Mandel, I was recently in a meeting last week with a group of individuals here in Elmira representing different organizations, and we were talking about the number of resources that you have here in Elmira, but when people are not aware of those resources, it negate their ability to take advantage of them. And we were trying to come up with a plan where we could come together maybe once a month or periodically and talk about how we can put that under one umbrella where people would know we can call this agency or we can call this place and get information regarding resources in our county. Because we were surprised the number of resources we have here, and people would tell you every day, well, I didn't know that was there. So what can we do to alleviate problems like that?
Well, that's good. Maybe we all need to get together and have a meeting regarding this. But getting back to our Empire State Reduction Initiative, that's one of the problems we identified for people that are in need. So part of our community navigators, we have 3 of them through this grant, have been reaching out to people to help streamline them and show them where the services are so they know where they are, because that was one of the biggest concerns. We have all these services, how do I get to them? And with the navigators, we've started that. I wouldn't be against getting together with a group, Georgia, if you'd wanted to spearhead that and be part of that to see how we can even do a better job of streamlining those services to those people that need them. Because the bottom line is we want to get these people, that, especially in poverty, out of poverty and on the right direction.
Okay. Switching gears here to crime in our city. As we spoke in the last debate, we talked about drugs, and there's a big problem with drugs in our community, especially when it comes to fentanyl and opioid. What does your administration do? How do you work with the police to make sure that that to really combat the drug issue that we are facing here?
Oh, it's difficult. First of all, we got a couple problems, and it's actually I've always said it's a three-pronged approach on how to attack the drug problem. First of all, education's big. You got to get people educated, especially at a school age, not to get involved with them. Second is treatment. We need treatment for these people that are addicted to this horrible opioid epidemic. I mean, opiates are a very addictive drug. The third thing that we need to do is strict enforcement on the dealers. A lot of these dealers that are dealing heroin are not the users. They know exactly what they're dealing, they know exactly what they're doing. They need time behind bars in prison. So those are the three things that we've been working on as far as my administration goes. And it gets back to what Sheriff Schramm said. He pointed out the fact that they did Project Hope through the county jail, and now we got Hope Court through the city court, which is going to help out a lot with these people that are in distress that need help with their opiate problem go in front of this court, and they gear them towards treatment because treatment is a big need right now to help combat this awful problem.
Thank you so much. Mary, we want to give you this opportunity to make a closing statement.
Sure. In the next 4 years, it's going to take strong and effective leadership to continue Elmira's resurgence. My vast experience, 6 years in the United States Air Force, many years assisting my mother and father in our family business, and my 14-plus years in the administration of the Chemung County Sheriff's Office makes me the most qualified candidate running for mayor. I ask the voters in this upcoming election to help me and my team, because this is a total team effort, to continue building Elmira by casting their vote on the ballot for Dan Mandel, Mayor, City of Elmira. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you. Give the mayor a round of applause. We appreciate that town hall, and that will do it for us tonight live from Mandeville Hall here in Elmira. We have a special thank you tonight to the Chemung County Council of Women for helping put on this debate, along with the staff of the Clemens Center for providing the space, and of course to Georgia Verdier for co-moderating, and a thank you to all the candidates for taking part and all those who watched. And a reminder, we will post this entire debate to our website, mytwintiers.com, after this broadcast. You will also find profiles of each of our candidates appearing in tonight's debate. AT News is your local election headquarters. Join us for live team coverage this upcoming election, Tuesday, November 5th, online and on air. For election coverage you can count on, turn to AT News. And I'm Zach Wheeler, live from the Clemens Center. We thank you for joining us this Tuesday night. God bless.